Fever pull it out by 1 point. It was an ugly, ugly game at times for the Indiana Fever, but they got the win. They needed this win. They were trying to avoid being swept by the Sparks.
Following that incredible finish in Los Angeles, Caitlin Clark didn't hold back. Odyssey Sims struck the blade. The paint belonged to Aliyah Boston, and the Fever turned a sloppy game into a thrilling victory over the Sparks. Unpleasant? Yes. Still a victory? Of course.
Fever dub! Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah!
It was all in the reaction. Proud, boisterous, and a touch peppery. The second year has a higher standard. Which moment was your favorite? Clark's post-game heat, Boston's bully ball, or Odyssey's three? To be honest, this game appeared to have been put together using coffee and duct tape. The second quarter was a slow one. Even bad was the third. The pace at which both teams kept clanking bunnies ought to be prohibited in a professional gym. Odyssey Sims changed into the adult in the room when it counted most. Boston, Aliyah, became a forklift. And with a 1-point victory that seemed like 10, the Fever left Los Angeles.
We're a good group, from the coaching staff to the ownership to my teammates. Everybody is so genuine. Everybody pours into each other more than I've ever seen or any other team I've ever been on. And that speaks.
Commence with Odyssey, for heaven's sake, she deserved it. She didn't blink when the air seemed thick and the score changed from 74 to 71. Splash, rise, and catch. That trio wasn't adorable. It was chilly. She later lost her temper, used the glass, and created the kind of no-no-yes bucket that quickly silences a gathering.
The kick out Sims. Sims in the paint. The runner good.
You can say anything you want about the beauty of the box score or shot count. She seized the opportunity and the ball. It's your fault if you're upset about loudness when the scoreboard indicates AW.
We're a good group, from the coaching staff to the ownership to my teammates. Everybody is so genuine. Everybody pours into each other more than I've ever seen or any other team I've ever been on. And that speaks volumes.
Mitchell Kelsey. A night off. It occurs. Someone else must put out the fire while your main bucket getter is flat. Sims did. Furthermore, that does not exclude Odyssey and Kelsey from getting along. They belong to the same breed. Tough guards who are constantly on the offensive. On certain evenings, it's Kelsey. It was Odyssey tonight. The your turn, my turn situation might be irksome. However, you select whichever turn results in the ball actually getting over the net on a difficult night when nobody could complete a layup. Aliyah Boston's first 5 now resemble a brick procession. Following that, the Sparks' front line was transformed into a fully grown takeover with 11 for 13, 22 points, 11 boards, 4 dimes, and enough body punches. Onlookers. She made a deep seal. She used her elbows and wrists to finish. At the beach, she followed misses like a metal detector. The Fever require that version each night. Decisive, cruel, and bored with just one piece of coverage. Everyone else fits in when Boston sets the tone. The box becomes cleaner. The closeouts appear more crisp. At last, the gaps open up. Also deserving of flowers is Lexi Hall. In passing lanes, 2 black eyes are still getting a hand, cutting and shutting out.
Her pass is deflected, picked up by Hole ahead of the pack.
Even on a night when her shot didn't sing, you could see the spark she provides them. Hole picks up her deflected pass ahead of the pack. She nearly lost her job because of Stephanie White's intense challenge. Maintained a starter on the ground, won the review, and turned the tide just in time. Where credit is due, give it. White hit the appropriate button there. Big threes at the ideal moment, aerial powers. Overall, it wasn't flawless, but the timing was spot on. It was absent from Natasha Howard. All right. She continued to perform the dirty labor that isn't trendy, worked the glass, and battled length. Above all, Bree Turner performed her duties without causing harm to others. The best you can say at times. There are no disasters when it comes to a rotation player. Tonight, that was crucial. Let's discuss it because it was messy. As if the square were an allergy, the Fever missed layups. In turn, Each spark tossed the ball away. Everyone appeared to be playing for extended periods of time while wearing wet socks. You know who wins in mud, though? The group that is more resilient. The defense-talking squad that loses 13-11 in a quarter. The person who understands that we can't shoot right now and that we need to recover and guard like rent is due? That state was Indiana. In addition to Caitlin Clark. She didn't sit quietly and clap twice. For the second year, she was lively, loud, and this evening, you could see her slicing the air when the Fever attempted to force drives into traffic. Swing, kick, and second side. Indeed, when the initial action became clogged, the crunch time dagger 3 came off with a clean second side touch. Culture is that. Sparks notes since context is important. Azura Stevens caused issues on both short roll and on the glass. The minutes that Kim Brink played were swing minutes. Her length altered Indiana's forced ball fakes and angles. Even yet, the Fever managed to solve it by using the sparks in scrambling. The shot clock was late. Allow Sims to turn the corner and compel weak side assistance, or get it to Boston early. Easy math. Play behind the ball and force 2 to it. Unattractive but efficient. Serving as an official. Let's be courteous. A lot of let them play energy was present. A whole movie theater's worth of forearms were consumed by Kelsey Mitchell. Clark advised teammates to put the fines and tweets off until tomorrow. Sydney Cousin got half of WNBA Twitter vomit out their water when she joked about having already been punished. Funny and really beneficial as well. Yes, considering how near boiling that tension was. By preventing the whistle from becoming the tail, the Fever prevailed. Notable coaching adjustments. White cut the rotation short. Some people will find that annoying, particularly with Michaela. Chloe BBY and Timson are receiving DNPS. On the other hand, coaches want trust in a street fight game. White relied on athletes who were getting bodies on bodies and talking defense. She also clipped some of the adorable sets and used a shooter elevated weak side to lean into an empty corner and pick and roll. Fewer turnovers and cleaner reads. Fewer options are helpful when nothing falls. The screens are yet another aspect of Boston. She caught the Sparks guard on Odyssey's hip by flipping screens at the last minute, but broadcasters never promote it. The precise rhythm 3 that changed and a contested pull-up are separated by that half stride. Everything. Bigs who intentionally yell win nasty games. She did. Let's move on to the winning ugly label. Accept it. The Fever lost these last year. The game was lost after 2 pointless trips, a clumsy whistle, and a missed layup. They make the irksome free throws, pick up the loose balls, and manage a 1-point victory away from home this year. Growth is that. Highlight reels are for pretty winners. Seedlines are created by ugly wins. Zoom out. When the vaccinations don't work, the Fever is forming lasting habits. Come back together as a group. First, strike the floor. Avoid staring at referees. Avoid switching because you're bored. Communicate via screens. Don't use a hero ball if you want a clean phrase for tonight. Hero is the only one who plays. Sim striking. The 3 major ones. Act as a hero. Boston has a deep ceiling. Taking the fall and getting it done. Act as a hero. With a face that appears to have been hit by a heavy bag 3 times, Lexi closes the space. Act as a hero. Let's get to the part that everyone seeks. What didn't Caitlin withhold? There are 2 things, expectations and standards. When the offense walked the ball up following makes, she called them out. She repeatedly hit the pace button. Rather than holding the ball for 5 seconds and allowing assistants to get set, she yelled for early entries to Boston. She pointed to Odyssey's temple and then her chest as she headed right to the horn. Translation: bold and intelligent. Hold on to both. That isn't nonsense. A star sharpening another star is what that is. There's a. This is also a playoff angle. This was necessary for the Fever to maintain control over its tiebreaker and spot math. Coldly defeating the Sparks in Los Angeles with your second leading scorer. It's a game changer. Additionally, it communicates with the locker room. The identity is edge, not nice photos. For whoever draws them, the window of opportunity becomes extremely narrow if Clark rejoins a team that is already defending, grabbing rebounds, and closing. Fast hits and turnovers. Chaos was transformed into 23 points by Indiana. When layups disappeared, that made a difference. Points for second chances. Ball watchers were penalized by Boston and company. There were no early leaks. In a brickfest, winning detail free throws. Freebies are money. Just enough was collected by Indiana. Late game. Serene. Sims appeared to have placed her order from a menu. Smooth release, smooth footwork, and no panic. Okay, for people who prefer gleaming figures. Part of it is revealed by Boston's 22 and 11. However, her deep seals and screen quality outshone the points. Sims' line is amazing, but it was successful because of her choices following the catch, shot, drive, and kick. It wasn't a stat line, and Clark didn't hold back. It was responsibility. She is now in her second year. The standard is higher. The voice is more powerful. There are fewer justifications. Excellent. You are free to nitpick as you like. The missed bunnies, the wasted drives, and the offensive play in the third quarter. You're not incorrect. However, in late August, the only thing that counts is if you can. Triumph when your jumper is deceiving you. The Fever said yes tonight. That matures nicely and travels. When the bracket lowers and a high seed glances across the floor and says, "GH not them," it's the kind of victory you remember. One last observation regarding Sims. A courageous guard who enjoys pressure is essential to every squad. That's what she provided them. One last observation about Boston. A large who eliminates second possessions is necessary for every challenger. That's what she provided them. One last thing regarding Clark. Even after a victory, every franchise needs a star that pushes everyone to do better. She loudly gave them that. It can be referred to as ugly. The Fever will refer to it as advancement. Additionally, because the rankings only include log letters rather than art grades, the important letter was stamped W, and this is something that people sometimes overlook in a game like this. The league-wide knock-on effect. When Indiana takes a victory away from home, it messes up the playoff standings, not just their record. The Sparks believed they had this one figured out. Give a team without its star a home game. It's an insult to the gut. Other teams are suddenly looking at the schedule twice. Hold on, is Indiana still available? The Fever are learning how to win games that used to elude them, ugly or not. It becomes exciting when it comes to playoff positions. A victory like this pulls someone else down in addition to elevating Indiana.